to chop and drop the vegetative strip gives you an opportunity to mulch around plants that you want to keep. So this is a persimmon, just like the persimmon over there. And I basically chopped and mulched around the persimmon. And then of course we chopped the rest of the path down through there. And chop and drop, what we're doing is we're returning this biomass. Now, to a lot of people this looks overgrown. By the way, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. And I just did a podcast about how this looks overgrown, and it's all kinds of plants, but it is an abundance of biomass that as we chop and drop, now we chop and drop primarily on access points and the berm. So where I'm standing is slightly lower than this berm up here, which is the base of a terrace. And so when we chop and drop, we take that mulch and we put it around the plants we want to keep, which then gives us this nice humus, this rich soil. So that's the previous chop and drops. And that material in the paths gives us something to walk on. So we don't need to do anything other than chop it and roll it into these paths. This is called a channel right here. It's the top of this next swale. And by the way, look at all the butterflies. Lots of butterflies, lots of beneficial insects. But this is another terrace down here that has some wildflowers in it. And so what's happening here is this grass is being cut here and being moved into the path. I'm walking on the path. I'm not really compacting the soil, but if I did compact the soil, I'm compacting at the channel, which is the point of the back of the terrace that is a level contour and allows me to soak and spread water. But that water area is full of biomass that's been chopped and dead plant material. So what ends up happening is it soaks it up, and we have a fertile location for microorganisms and plants to start building soil. So we're building soil. And now if I mulch around the trees I want to keep, I'm conserving moisture and building soil around the plants I want to keep. So now we end up with persimmon trees that will be pruned and managed in place. And then the berm goes from vegetative strip, which is growing biomass for us, into a silvopasture strip, which is growing trees for us and providing us with some shade. Now these are nitrogen fixing trees right here. They'll eventually go away, but you'll notice some odd trees here and there. Those trees have been selected to stay, and what will end up happening is on some of these terraces we'll have small cropped fruit trees or berry trees acting as a buffer on big wide terraces. But until then, we have an unlimited supply of biomass, and this biomass feeds the soil, protects the plants that we want to keep, provides moisture. We don't really have to water this, and in some cases provides beautiful flowers. And that is the abundance of a natural garden. It's hard to walk through here. I get distracted by the small birds, and I get distracted by all the butterflies and all the beautiful things that are going on around. And once you recognize the different plants that are here, you can start finding volunteers. We didn't buy this plant. That is a persimmon that's starting to grow. For some reason, there's a lot of them around here. And because it's on a berm, we can select to keep it, mulch around it, and build up. Look at that. There's even a little ladybug right there. See this abundance? You can do the same. These vegetative strips will grow grains or grasses, and this is hairy vetch here and a little bit of alfalfa. We have a lot of nitrogen fixers in here in the beginning because this area was just clay soil, but it's building up. Now, this is what I meant by the unnatural number of butterflies. There was just a bunch of butterflies here just a second ago. Look at that beautiful butterfly. But again, do you see how there's pollinators? There's different types of plants. The plants that survive are the plants that are most ideal for these circumstances, and they're pulling nutrients up. They're creating biomass. They're capturing nitrogen from the atmosphere. Our atmosphere is 70% nitrogen. Why buy fertilizer when you can have plants that will take that out, and then when you chop them up and put them around the plants you want to keep, then you will grow abundance. Now, you may be saying, well, Justin, that seems like a lot of work. But really, these scythes are very little work. I could use a larger scythe if I want. They're very quiet. I do hear the fan of the greenhouse, but other than that, I hear birds. I hear wind blowing through the tree branches. I hear relaxation, and I see abundance. And you can too. This is very easy. See how this path is matted down with materials? Real quick, actually, while I'm thinking about it, this grass won't grow like this forever. So this is a path that I cleared out 2 weeks ago. Okay, so we cut this path right here more than 2 weeks ago. Harvested green peppers, cut out around the green peppers, and see the path didn't grow back that quick. Look at this other butterfly right here. Isn't that beautiful? All right, here's another path here, probably 2 weeks ago as well, and it's still cut pretty good. So it looks like a mess, but really what happens is that all of this biomass goes down here and then chokes out any new plants while protecting and feeding your abundance of food. Oh, it looks like I need to harvest tomatoes again. I did 3 jars of tomatoes. Actually, the kid did it, 3 jars of tomatoes off of just this row right here. There's dill, there's other plants here. Now, yes, it looks overgrown. But again, sunflowers and biomass over time, as we select for the plants we want to keep, we'll end up with more and more soil biology and an abundance of the plants we want to keep. And you can see the clover coming back here. That's a nitrogen fixer. And this path is cleared out. And I think this path over here is 4 weeks ago. Not really sure. But if you keep up with it, it is going to serve you well, and it's going to grow more food than you can imagine. Now, to an outsider, this doesn't look like much. They'll probably be so distracted by the wildflowers and the butterflies that they will forget there's even food here, and they'll wander along. But there's lots and lots and lots of food here. There's basil, green peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, corn, all kinds of stuff growing on here in this natural garden space. It's very, very low inputs. The only thing that we put in is the initial plant starts. And then, as you've seen in the other videos, be sure to like and subscribe, go through the other videos. We use a flail mower at the end of season to cut all this stuff at once. And the flail mower, again, chops and drops and gives us a lot of this material here that you're seeing on the ground here. This kind of dry material that basically feeds the soil. And yes, the grass will come back. It's okay, we don't need to till it. The grass will just keep coming back, and the flail mower will cut it down, and we'll just keep picking those, we'll just keep picking the veg until it doesn't come anymore, and then flail mow it all down to make it clean. Now, we're gonna make some of these terraces bigger and flatter. It makes it a little easier with the flail mower. If you don't have a flail mower, it certainly works well with a hand scythe or a full-size scythe. And of course, if you have a smaller garden, this is so easy to keep up with. We almost neglect this on purpose because, you know, there's just so much food here. And there's corn and potatoes, and there's wildflowers, and there's areas for the bees. And you know, I did this section right here in like, I don't know, like 5 minutes or something. I kind of stopped when I got in the shade and laid around and said, well, maybe I should do some videos for the YouTube channel. And then I started watching the butterflies. I don't know, it's hard to convey the relaxation, the freedom from anxiety, the excitement. It's almost like a scavenger hunt. The excitement of going through here and seeing the different plants, and then knowing that we're doing right by nature. We're building up abundance here. We're not really putting in a lot of hard work. What comes out is most of the harvest is the hard work. You got to harvest it. Then, of course, we put down the initial plants. Wildflowers tend to spawn on their own. I don't know. I'm lost for words sometimes when I go through this action, this actually doing it. Get up from the YouTube videos and actually start a garden. Even if it's a couple feet, you cannot make a mistake. You can only learn and grow from your experiences. And you'll be delighted by the excitement and the just personal development that happens being out in nature, seeing this abundance. Now again, if you cut this stuff before it goes to seed, like this grass going to seed is not a good idea. If you cut it down before it goes to seed, a lot of wildflowers you could flail mow or even mow with a regular mower. And as you notice, the paths are all mowed with a regular mower. So you can get between all these sections really easily. But some areas we just let grow because we want the biomass. It's a very clay soil, so we want as much biomass as possible. We don't really care if it's quote weedy. We want the biomass because we're gonna mulch it down and feed the soil. But it almost doesn't look like anything. It almost looks like a mistake. But in nature, if you're working with nature and you're using natural methods in organic soil, we put manures in here, yes. We put the stuff from the rabbit cages, yes. But we are also allowing inches and inches of biomass to grow up. And once the harvests are done, we pull up the stakes, we walk through to do a final